When Disney finalized their purchase of Lucasfilm in the early 2010s, there were two questions. What are they going to do with Star Wars? What are they going to do with Indiana Jones? We know what they've done with Star Wars. They've completely butchered it beyond recognition. We've gotten one really, really good piece of content in Andor. The rest has been various degrees of trash. Mandalorian's been pretty okay, but everything else they've done has been a complete and utter train wreck, at least from a live action standpoint. They've done some okay stuff with like the animated series. Yeah, but they've ruined Star Wars, and now the question, what are they going to do with Indy? And it took them over a decade to get this movie made, and they're going to do the same thing they did with Star Wars, which is completely just suck the life out of it and ruin it for everybody. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Before we start, click on the red subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you know whenever I post a new piece of content. Okay, so two things. Spoiler warning, I'm going to ruin this movie. I'm going to talk about it a lot in depth, characters and flaws and the stuff I liked, which is not a lot. And then second, I'm going to curse, and I'm going to probably curse a lot. So this movie is a complete and total clusterfuck, and I hate it. I love Indiana Jones. I love Indiana Jones. I think the original Indiana Jones trilogy is on par with, if not better than, Star Wars. Raiders of the Lost Ark is an incredible film. It holds up to this day. I watched it like 3 days ago. Fantastic. Temple of Doom, a little bit misunderstood when it came out. A little bit of wonky CGI, like a little bit of wonky like graphical effects on some stuff, but nothing that ruins the movie by any stretch. It's a fantastic film. Temple of Doom is great, and I adore The Last Crusade. It's kind of like, sometimes it's like the redheaded stepchild of the three, but I love Last Crusade. I watched it yesterday. It holds up. It's awesome. Indy's relationship with his father is great. And then Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was a mess, right? It was, George Lucas crafted the story, and the aliens were dumb, and Shia LaBeouf swinging around with the monkeys, and Karen Allen was in the movie, but it didn't seem like she really wanted to be there. And yeah, I know a lot of people that love that movie, but I am certainly not one of them. I thought it was fine, but it's nothing has come close to the original trilogy. This movie is an insult to all of that. There's a moment where, and again, spoilers, where Indy is like covered in bugs, and he freaks out. Now, my question is, has anybody involved with the creation of this motion picture seen Raiders of the Lost Ark or seen Temple of Doom? Indy's not afraid of bugs. He's never been afraid of bugs. He doesn't freak out when bugs are on him at all. In the first 5 minutes of Raiders, he's got spiders all over him, and he doesn't care. Indiana Jones is afraid of snakes. This is like a huge part of his character. It's explained in depth at the beginning of Last Crusade. And yet, this movie doesn't seem to even care. It basically neuters Indy. It leans way too hard into the age stuff. It's just like, hey, what happens when one of your heroes gets really old and a cringe, strong female character comes in and does all the things he used to be able to do and is like way better than he is at everything. Does this sound familiar? Because it's the exact same fucking thing that they did in The Last Jedi. It's the exact same thing. They took our iconic, amazing hero and they replaced him with a brunette female, like Kathleen Kennedy. So it's just, this movie is deeply insulting in every way. It starts off at the tail end of World War II as the Allies are liberating Europe from Nazi control. And Indy is on a train and he's fighting Nazis and he's punching bad guys. But here's the problem. It's de-aged Harrison Ford and it looks like shit. And it sounds like shit because they didn't do anything with Harrison Ford's voice. He sounds exactly like he sounds today, which is old. They left old-ass Indiana Jones voice on wonky-looking, de-aged, shitty Harrison Ford, and it's completely obvious and terrible looking. It looks awful. I just can't believe they did this, and it's the first 20 minutes of the movie. And you can see what they're doing every step of the way. You want to have that set piece so it harkens back to the original trilogy. Action and adventure, and he's on the train, and there's knives, and there's guns, and people are getting punched, and he's sneaking around, and he's taking out the Nazis and kicking people off trains. It's great. But it's so obvious, and it looks so garbage because of the tech they used to de-age Harrison Ford. And the fact that he sounds like he's old as hell. because Harrison Ford is old as hell. And James Mangold, dude, what the hell? You're a fantastic director. You made Logan, dude. You made the best X-Men movie. You made one of the top 3 or 4 all-time best superhero movies in Logan. You made the easily the best R-rated superhero movie that blows everything else away. A masterpiece on exactly how you handle an aging character. And yet they brought him in and gave him this trash. There is so much blame to go around here, and I'm so frustrated. I'm so disappointed. I haven't waited at all. I came back from the theater. I ate some early dinner, and then I sat down to record this. I have not had a lot of time to think about how much this movie sucks, and it's really, really frustrating. And the ending, what? You can tell when you're being emotionally manipulated during a movie. And this movie does that really effectively at the end. This movie made me cry at the end. And yet, as soon as that scene was over, I was like, oh, I see exactly what they're doing. They reshot this ending. They reshot this ending completely because what? The rest of the movie sucks, and so you have to throw something in at the end to redeem it. The only good thing about this movie is Mads Mikkelsen's performance as the bad guy, whose name I don't even remember. Voller? I think his name is Voller. His performance is really good as the sneaky, creepy bad guy. But this movie, here's the ending of the movie. Again, major spoilers. Indy, it's Dial of Destiny, right? It's like the MacGuffin is basically like a time machine that like can see these rifts in time, which you can travel through and go back to whatever time. So they accidentally go back to, I think, the year 214, the Siege of Syracuse, which is in Mediterranean, the Aegean Sea, and it's this whole thing. And so they go back in time. The bad guy, the Nazi bad guy, is trying to go back in time and kill Hitler, so a better leader can rise up and lead Germany into the New World future, whatever bullshit. And instead, he screws up the calculations. Indy warns him it's too late. They go back to 214. They get shot down by a bunch of medieval fucking catapults or whatever, and then the bad guys just die. They just die. And then Indy's like, he meets Archimedes, who created the Dial of Destiny, and he's like, hey, man, so I'm just going to hang out, because Indy gets shot a little bit earlier, and he's like, hey, I'm just going to hang out with you here and hang out and then die. And then Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character, Helena, who sucks, punches him out, and then he wakes up back in New York. So, they get in the other plane that went through the rift, and then they go back in the rift, and then he just wakes up in New York at the end, and then Marion walks in, and they kiss and scene. And part of the big problem I have with this movie too is the overall story is just dumb. It's trying really hard to be emotional, but it's so obvious what they're trying to do that it just completely takes you out of the experience. So this movie is a direct sequel to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Marion and Indy get married at the end of that movie. It's the last scene of that movie. And then Mutt enlists to go to Vietnam and dies, and then Marion and Indy separate, and Indy is at a low point in his life, and they're legally separated, and Indy is a mess. He's just sitting at home doing nothing but yelling at his neighbors. He's just cranky old man. And that's basically him through the movie. He gets Helena is smarter than he is. She's better at punching than he is, and yet she's a despicable character who only cares about money until the last 30 seconds of the movie when she has to redeem herself so we can go out on a high note and give Indy the send-off that he deserves. So long story short, this movie is fucking garbage. Please don't see it. Just go back, watch Raiders, watch Temple of Doom, watch Last Crusade, and just don't watch anything else that they've done. This movie cost almost $300 million. And I hope Disney loses every single penny of that. I hope marketing costs, I'm sure, through the roof. I hope they lose I hope they lose all the dollars. I hope that company completely collapses. They have not just given Warner Brothers a run for their money as worst movie studio currently functioning. They have surpassed them. They have taken two of the greatest franchises in movie history, two entertainment juggernauts, and completely ruined them. Completely ruined them. There's no hope left for Disney when it comes to anything Star Wars and certainly anything Indiana Jones related. Yeah, so sorry. I hate this movie. I'm really disappointed. The music from John Williams, though, he's always good. It's a bummer that this is the last indie movie he's ever going to score. I think this might be the last movie he scores, like, period. So if that's the case, then, well, they just gave him the finger too and they can fuck off. So thank you so much for checking out this video, though. If you liked it, if you found it helpful, consider subscribing. You can also like and share it. That tells the powers that be, YouTube, which also sucks, that it's worth promoting. Yeah, I am trying to get to 500 subs because then I can monetize the channel at least. And yeah, love you guys. I'll see you next Wednesday at 9 a.m.